Shalom, shalom, Israel. This is No Saint Left Behind coming to you once again. First, I just want to start off with saying, Call Allah Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rikar Kwadash, double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and shalom to the elect of Israel, of Yasha'Allah, and the 1/3. Shalom. All right, we're going to get into this lesson today, and this lesson is going to be called, Are Israelites, or are Hebrew Israelites called Gentiles? You know, because the word talks about Gentiles a lot when you get into the New Testament. And we know during the so-called Old Testament, you know, before the Messiah, that when it talks about Gentiles, it was talking about the other nations or the heathen nations. And so, but we also understand once we get into the New Testament, that when you begins to talk about Gentiles, it's talking about Israelites as well, which took on heathen customs, customs of the other nations. Slakia, you know, which a lot of you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans today in America would be called Gentiles if you keeping the customs of these Edomites in America, of these other so-called white men, these red Hebrew Edomites in America, celebrating Christmas. You just got through celebrating Easter, Halloween, so you will be called a Gentile because you keeping the customs of the heathens. Even if you're not circumcising your son, your child, because we are the Hebrew Israelites. You know what I'm saying? Whether you want to believe it or not. You so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, hold on, give me a second. You know, we are the people, you know, we are the sheep of the lost sheep of the house of Israel, you know, which was sold into captivity. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to get into this a little bit today. And, you know, just pray that you be edified. You know, they've been stopping my videos, you know, when I try to go live and do lengthy videos from going up on YouTube. But I'm going to have to try to do it a different way today. You know, I'm going to have to do little segments, you know. I'm going to have to chop it up and then upload it. And, you know, let's see if that worked. For the last 3 weeks, they've been blocking me. You know, they even been taking the content off where you can't even see the video I record. You know, it's there, but you can't even see the image on it. You know, so let's try it this way, and I, you know, pray that it goes through. All right, and we're going to start at the Gospel of John, chapter 10, and I'm going to start at 14, verse 14. And this is written in red writing, so when it's in red, we know that these are words that actually came from the mouth of Yahweh Shai, who you ignorantly call Jesus. It says, verse 14, I am the good shepherd, and know my sheep, and am known of mine. Verse 15, as the Father knoweth me, even so know I the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. Verse 16, this is the point. And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd. So Yahweh Shai, you know, the Messiah, the Hamashiach Messiah said that he have other sheep that are not of this fold. So when we know when the Messiah was walking on earth, when he was born into what? Roman captivity. You know, the so-called white men, the red Hebrew Edomites, the Romans was in rulership then. And so during that time, wasn't nobody in Jerusalem or in Israel but the southern kingdom. You might have had some of the northern kingdom just a little bit scattered around. But mostly, you know, the 3 tribes of southern kingdom, which was Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, which would be you so-called Negroes, which is, you know, the so-called Haitians, so-called Jamaicans, and the so-called African Americans. We was the only people at that time that was in the homeland in Jerusalem when Yahweh Shai walked the earth. And so he was letting us know then that he have sheep that are not of this fold. What do you mean that he has sheep that are not of his fold? See, if you know anything about the word, you know that the Most High scattered, you know, he scattered Israel into the 4 corners of the earth because of our disobedience. And not only that, you had 9 tribes that weren't even in Jerusalem at that time, which was over here in the Americas, you know, which would be your, which would be your so-called Hispanics and Native American, which would be Samuel, Zebulun, Ephraim, Manasseh, Gad, Reuben, Naphtali, Asher, and Issachar. You know, all of them was over here in the Americas during the time of during the time of Yahweh Shah. They was over here in the Americas. You know, those 9 tribes which we call the Hispanic and Native American tribes, which in the Bible, in the Old Testament, was called the Northern Kingdom, which when you read into the Old Testament, really when you read into I think Jeremiah chapter 3 is when the Most High talks about he divorced the Northern Kingdom. So, you know, and it's a lot, man. So we should get into that too as well. But let's go and see why he said that he has sheep that wasn't of this fold. So, because we got to go into the scattering to understand what he mean by that. All right, so we're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 4. And we're going to read 26 through 28. Deuteronomy chapter 4. 26 through 28. And it says, I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day, that ye shall soon utterly perish from off the land whereunto ye go over Jordan to possess it. Ye shall not prolong your days upon it, but shall utterly be destroyed. And this is telling the Most High was using Moses to tell us, man, because if we begin to get into the ways of the Canaanites, which was in that land at the time, you know, we took the land from the Hamites, the Canaanites. We begin to keep their ways and begin to keep their customs, begin to do what they were doing, that the Most High was going to cast us out of our land, that he was going to destroy us, utterly destroy us. And we begin to marry their women and give our sons to their daughters and our daughters to their sons, and begin to worship the idols that they was worshiping, get into the, you know, they was into homosexuality and all that, man. So the Most High was telling us that if we begin to do what these so-called Africans, these Hamites was doing, that he was going to utterly destroy us out that land. And so that's what he's using Moses to tell us. Okay, verse 27. And Yahweh shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither Yahweh shall lead you. So what he mean by he's going to, he says he's going to scatter us among the nations. And so these are the 17 nations, 18 nations on here, not count Israel, it's be 17. So the Most High scattered us into all these nations, you know, and if you see some so-called nations that you don't think, that you think should be up there, that's not up there, that just lets you know that they are branched off from these nations. You know, like you got North Korea, you know, South Korea, all them, they are branched off of China and Japan. You got Laos and all that. Those people are the same people as the Chinese and the Japanese. There's just different branches off them. So, but the Bible got the main nations on earth. The 18 nations that the Most High created is on this list. And the other nations, so-called nations that you don't see on here, is the ones the so-called white man created. He allowed them to be in this part of the land and not to associate with their own people and to call themselves by a different name. But the Most High said if we was to, you know, begin to do what these heathens was doing in these nations, begin to follow after their gods and their traditions, that he was going to scatter us into the four corners of the earth. That he's going to scatter us into all the nations. And that's what's going on today. We are scattered into all the nations. And that's why we are called Gentiles, because we keeping the customs of the lands that we in. Just like I was saying, in America, y'all keeping Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween. Y'all keeping the customs of this land. Y'all in church today. You know, y'all did Easter egg hunting. So y'all keeping the customs of these lands. So you're known as a Gentile if you're a so-called Negro, Hispanic, or Native American. Verse 28. And there ye shall serve other gods, the work of man's hands, wood and stone, which neither see nor hear, nor eat nor smell. And so that's letting you know right now, you know, the people that's in, you know, you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans that's in Christianity, you know, y'all serving what? The white image, the Jesus, the white image, the Jesus, Caesar Borgia, the one who they told you was the Messiah, which is not. Because we know our Messiah is a very dark man with woolly hair. And then if you in Islam, you got what? The copper stone. So you serving wood and stone. If you in Buddhism, you got a stone. Hinduism, you got wooden stones, and you know, you just got images that can't see or speak. So y'all serving dead images, man, which you should be serving the living God if you're a so-called Negro, Hispanic, Native American. If you on this sign right here. And then we have the confusions of faces that descend from these people on this sign that's also scattered in the four corners. So, and then in Deuteronomy 28, he tells about he's going to carry us off to another land where we're going to serve wood and stone. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find that right quick. Give me a second. Let me see. Give me 1 second. That's in Deuteronomy 28. Let me see. I can't find it right now, so I ain't gonna stay on it too swift. But it's in Deuteronomy 28 when he said that he's going to cause us to serve other gods, you know, which neither our fathers nor our mothers knew, which is wood and stone, you know, and that's what we're doing today. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can find this scripture. Let me see. Serve other gods. Which would be Deuteronomy 28:64. Let's go to, I need to go a page over. And Deuteronomy 28:64 says the exact same thing we just read in Deuteronomy 4:28. And it says, and Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. So it's saying the exact same thing, man, that we was going to be scattered into the four corners of the earth, and that's what happened, man. We have been scattered into the four corners of the earth, and we're serving other gods. Most of our people, most of you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and what are you known as? You're known as Gentiles. All right, let's keep going. Let's go to Leviticus 26:33, and that's talking about the scattering as well. So that's why Yahweh Shah said that he got other sheep that are not of this fold, man. Because the Most High scattered us because of our disobedience, man. You know, this, like he said, you confess me with your mouth, but your hearts are far from me. Leviticus 26:33, I believe. It says, and if a, let me see, that's 25. 26:33. It says, and I will scatter you among the heathen, and draw out a sword after you, and your land shall be desolate, and your cities waste. And that's what happened. When he mean by he's going to draw out a sword after us, that means he's going to allow these other nations to put us to death. And that's what they did. They raped us. They burned us. That's where barbecue came from when they was burning us. They hung us. You know what I'm saying? They threw us off the ships. You know, even to this day, on the slave trade, the sharks follow the same triangular trade slave, the trade slave from the west coast of Africa to the Americas. The sharks to this day still follow that same route because they was throwing us overboard, man. We was getting ate by sharks, and not only that, some of us was jumping overboard ourselves and committing suicide. You know what I'm saying? Because they didn't want to be put into this harsh bondage, this harsh slavery. And so let me read that again. Leviticus 26:33. And I will scatter you among the heathens. And these are the heathens right here. These are the nations right here. And I will scatter you among the heathens, said Jehovah. And will draw out a sword after you. And your land shall be desolate, and the cities waste. And not only that, let me see. It's another scripture that goes with that when it talks about they held not. Let me see. One second. The Bible talks about they hold themselves not guilty because of, he said the cops out here killing us. That's that sword. You know, the Most High said he was going to bring out against us. Let me go to Zechariah real quick. Zechariah 11 and I think it's 5. 11 and 5. Shit. Salakia. Zechariah 11:5. It says, whose possessors slay them, and hold themselves not guilty. And they that sell them say, blessed be Yahweh, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. And so that's another way that they're using the sword against us. You know, like he said, I will scatter you among the heathens, and will draw a sword out after you. You know, so he's allowing these, you know, these heathens, these other nations to put us to death because of our disobedience. And we see that every day, man. Get shot down by the police. You ain't got to have nothing in your hands up, they still shooting. They choking you out. Whatever they're doing, whatever instrument they use to put you to death, the Most High allowed them to do that, because that's what he said he's going to do. He's going to allow them to draw out a sword after us. All right, so let's get back into this scattering to show you why it's possible, and why when you read in the New Testament that it's talking about us, when it talks about when the Bible talks about Gentiles and it talks about them receiving the adoption, salvation and deliverance, it's talking about you so-called Negroes. You are the Gentiles that the Bible is talking about, and nobody else. All right, let's go to Nehemiah chapter 1. Nehemiah. Let's go to Nehemiah. Come on, Nehemiah. 1 second. Let's go to Nehemiah 1 and 8. Nehemiah 1 and 8. And it reads, remember, I beseech thee, the word that thou commandest thy servant Moses, saying, if ye transgress, I will scatter you abroad among the nations. So this is what Nehemiah, the prophet, asking the Most High to remember what he said to Moses. He said, if you transgress, that means if you go against his laws, statutes, commandments, and start doing the traditions and living the ways of these other nations, these heathens, that I was going to scatter you. That's what he's saying in verse 8. Remember, I beseech thee, the word that thou commandest thy servant Moses, saying, if ye transgress, that means to be unfaithful, I will scatter you abroad among the nations. Verse 9. But if ye turn unto me and keep my commandments and do them, though there were of you cast out unto the othermost part of the heathens, which means the other nations, yet will I gather them from thence, and will bring them unto the place that I have chosen to set my name there. And that's Zion. So what the Most High is saying, now that if you go off, he's going to scatter you. But when he scatter you, if you remember yourself in those lands, he'll deliver you out that land. Matter of fact, he'll deliver you out those lands. So matter of fact, let's go to Judges 5 and 11 then. Judges 5 and 11. That should be great with that. Judges 5 and 11. Judges 5 and 11. They that are delivered from the noise of the archers in the places of drawing waters, that means in the land of your captivity, if you wanted to be delivered from the noise of the drawing archers, and those drawing archers are those thermonuclear missiles. So in that place where the Most High has scattered you at, in the land of your captivity, the only way you can be delivered from the noise of the drawing archers are this. I'm going to continue midway. There shall they rehearse the righteous acts of Yahweh, even the righteous acts toward the inhabitants of the villages in Israel. So what the Most High is saying, in these lands where we would carry off captive at, in Japan, Russia, China, the Americas, Syria, Afghanistan, India, so wherever you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans at, which are you 12 lost sheep of the house of Israel, which were scattered abroad, wherever you at, if you come back to rehearsing these laws, statutes, commandments, and start calling on the real name Yahweh, that's the Father's name, and his Son's name Yahweh Shai, that the Most High will remember you and deliver you out those lands, man. Because we're in the last days, and all hell is about to break loose soon. And if you don't have Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, you will not be delivered. You will suffer the consequences. You will drink of the cup that the other nations are going to drink of. Let me read that again. Judges 5 and 11. They that are delivered from the noise of archers in the places of drawing waters, in the place of drawing water, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of Yahweh. Rehearse, that means to recount. That means to, you know what I'm saying, to play out. You know, you play basketball, you go what? You go to practice. That's all rehearsals mean. It means you practicing this, man. You're trying to get this in your spirit. You're trying to live by this. You know you shouldn't be eating shrimp, lobster, and pork, any shellfish, any fish without no fins and scales. You know what I'm saying? Anything out to sea. If it ain't got fins and scales, you can't eat it. You can't, leave it alone. You know, and on the land, you can't be eating rats and raccoons and squirrels and possums and frogs and pigs. You can't be eating those unclean things, man. Yeah, you can eat beetles. You know what I'm saying? You can eat locusts, which is what, grasshoppers? But you can't be eating all the other stuff. You got to eat the clean things, man. You got to come back to the law, statute, commandments of the Most High, man, and rehearse them to the best of your ability. Although we are saved by faith, though. We are saved, we are delivered through our faith in Yahweh Shai. But in the process of having faith in Yahweh Shai, you begin to gain the spirit. Once you gain the spirit, you begin to what? Rehearse the law, statutes, and the commandments. All right. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 22. Ezekiel chapter 22. And 14. And it says, can thy heart endure, or can thy hands be strong in the days that I shall deal with thee? I, Yahweh, have spoken it, and will do it. Verse 15. And I will scatter thee among the heathen, and disperse thee in the countries, and will consume thy filthiness out of thee. So the Most High says he's going to scatter us into all these nations, into all these different countries, and he's going to what? Consume the filthiness out of us. That means he's going to remove our evil ways. He's going to give us the strength. He's going to deliver us from rehearsing the heathens' lifestyles. You know what I'm saying? For what? Deliver you from Christianity. Deliver you from Islam. He's going to purge that out of you. Buddhism. 5% of the nation of Islam. Whatever you in, the Most High is going to deliver you out of that once you come and accept Yahweh Shai and begin to, you know, rehearse these law, steps, commandments. He's going to consume, you know, the filthiness out of you. And you know, the Most High got the elect, man. You know what I'm saying? But that's them the only ones. This the elect, the 144,000 and the 1/3 is the only people that's going to come to this truth. And the Most High is going to consume these evil ways out of us, these heathenistic ways out of us that these other countries are doing, that we are rehearsing. He's going to consume that out of us.